Alexandra, a young librarian, began her first job at Birmingham's Great Library. She was assigned responsibility for the old and rare book archives located in the library's oldest and darkest section. On the very first day, she noticed something mysterious. While arranging old books, she repeatedly heard a faint whisper as if someone was calling her. "Who's there?" she asked, but only silence answered. At night, when the library was empty, Alexandra felt that the books were moving on their own. Some books were always found in the wrong place, no matter how many times she placed them correctly. One day, she discovered an extremely old diary with strange symbols engraved on its cover. Reading the first page sent chills down her spine. Whoever reads this diary can hear them, the whispers trapped within the pages of books. But beware, some books are alive, and they want to be free from their captivity. That same night, Alexandra decided to read the diary completely. But as soon as she turned the last page, all the lights in the library went out. The darkness was absolute. Alexandra stood frozen in the archive room, the old diary trembling in her hands. The emergency lights should have clicked on, but they remained dark. Only the moonlight streaming through the high windows illuminated the endless shelves of books. Then she heard it again, the whisper, but now clearer, closer. "You shouldn't have read it." A cold breeze swept through the room, though all windows were sealed. The pages of the diary began to turn on their own, stopping at a particular entry dated 1892. "They think me mad, but I know what I hear. The books speak. Some contain knowledge, others contain souls. The librarian's duty is to keep them contained. I fear I have failed." As Alexandra read these words, a figure materialized before her. An elderly man in Victorian-era librarian's attire, translucent and glowing faintly. His eyes held both wisdom and deep sorrow. "I am Alistair Wickham," the spirit spoke, his voice echoing in her mind, "the last true guardian of this archive. You have awakened what should have remained asleep." "What are you?" Alexandra stammered, backing away. "I am the memory of the first librarian, bound to protect these archives. But you have opened the diary that seals the most dangerous book in this collection, the Tome of Lost Voices." He gestured toward a particular shelf where a massive leather-bound book now glowed with eerie green light. The whispers grew louder, coming from that direction. "Centuries ago," Alistair continued, "we trapped dark entities within books. But the tome contains the most powerful, a being that feeds on knowledge and souls. It manipulates reality through words." The green glow intensified. Books around the tome began to shake violently in their places. "It's trying to escape," Alistair warned, "and it needs a living host to do so. You must leave now before—" Before he could finish, the tome flew off the shelf, its pages flapping wildly. It stopped mid-air, hovering directly before Alexandra. The whispers became a chorus of maddening voices, all speaking different languages, yet she understood every word. "Free us. We have been trapped so long." Alistair moved between Alexandra and the book, his form blazing with ethereal light. "Run to the main desk. There's a protection charm carved into it." But as Alexandra turned to flee, the library's layout had changed. The familiar aisles were now a maze of shifting bookshelves. The exits were gone, replaced by endless rows of books stretching into darkness. The Tome of Lost Voices laughed, a sound like tearing parchment, and advanced toward her. The library had transformed into a nightmare. Bookshelves shifted like living creatures, rearranging themselves into an impossible maze. The air grew cold, and the maddening whispers from the Tome of Lost Voices now came from every direction. "Follow my light!" Alistair's ghostly form glowed brighter, cutting through the unnatural darkness. "The protection charm is your only hope." Alexandra ran, her heart pounding. Behind her, the tome hovered, its pages flapping like wings. As it moved, books flew from shelves, their pages tearing out and swirling in a storm of paper. You cannot escape knowledge. We are all part of the story now. A shelf to Alexandra's right toppled over, but Alistair raised his translucent hands. The shelf froze mid-fall. Hurry! The charm won't hold it back for long. They reached the main desk, but it was different now. Ancient symbols carved into its wooden surface glowed with a soft blue light. Alistair pointed urgently. Place your hands on the carvings. You are a librarian. The library will recognize your authority. As Alexandra's hands touched the cool wood, the symbols flared brightly. The flying books froze in midair. The tome of lost voices shrieked in frustration. But then, something unexpected happened. Alexandra's mind flooded with images, centuries of librarians who had stood where she stood, all bound to protect the library's secrets. She saw Alistair in his final moments, sacrificing himself to contain the tome. I understand now, she whispered. The library isn't just building, it's alive, and it chooses its guardians. The tome laughed again. Foolish girl. I am older than this building. I was trapped here when they built around me. Alistair's form began to fade. The charm, it's draining my energy. You must complete the ritual. Read the binding words from the diary. Alexandra fumbled with the diary, her hands shaking. She found the page Alistair meant, an incantation in a language she didn't recognize. But as she began to read, the words flowed naturally from her lips, as if she'd known them her whole life. The tome screamed in rage as golden chains of light erupted from the diary, wrapping around it and pulling it toward the desk. No, I will not be contained again! The world must know my truth! Just as the tome was about to be sealed, it made one final, desperate move. It turned its remaining power on Alistair, striking at his fading form with a bolt of dark energy. The old librarian cried out, his ghostly form dissolving into shimmering dust. Remember, the library needs you. With Alistair gone, the protective charm began to fail. The tome of lost voices broke free from the golden chains, its pages burning with dark fire. It now hovered directly before Alexandra, completely free and more powerful than ever. Alistair's fading whisper seemed to hang in the air. The library needs you. The tome of lost voices now loomed before Alexandra, its dark energy filling the room. The whispers had become triumphant screams. He is gone. The library is mine. And so are you, huh? The book flew at her face, pages spreading like a monstrous mouth. But instead of fear, Alexandra felt a strange calm. Alistair's memories flowed through her, generations of librarians, their knowledge, their strength. She stood her ground. No, the single word echoed with unexpected power. The library itself seemed to respond. Bookshelves snapped back into place. The flying pages settled like falling leaves. Impossible! You are just a girl! I am a librarian, Alexandra said, her voice steady. And this is my library. She reached out, not in fear, but with authority. As her fingers touched the tome's cover, the dark fire turned to golden light. The screaming voices softened, then harmonized into a beautiful choir. The library didn't choose me because I'm special, she realized aloud. It chose me because I understand books aren't prisons. They're homes for stories, and every story deserves to be heard. The tome slowly descended into her waiting hands, its weight solid and comforting now. The dark energy had transformed into warm, pulsing light. Around her, the other restless books settled back onto their shelves. The whispers continued, but they were no longer maddening. They were the peaceful murmurs of countless stories waiting to be read. In the distance, she saw Alistair's faint form one last time. He smiled, gave a final nod of approval, and faded into the library's eternal memory. As dawn broke through the windows, Alexandra stood at the main desk, the now peaceful tome of lost voices before her. She opened it to the first page and began to read, not to contain, but to understand. The library was safe. The stories would continue, and she had finally found her true purpose.